Okay, I'll call this meeting to order at 7:02. Start off with the agenda. Any additions? If not, could I get a motion to accept the
I'll make a
agenda?
motion.
Councillor Schultz. All in favor? Carried. Minutes from the organizational meeting, October 28th. Craig, you find anything?
No, everything all look good. I'll make a motion to accept the organizational meetings as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Number 2, the regular meeting, October 28th, minutes. Craig, you find anything?
No.
Okay, Councillor Carlson? All in favor? Carried. Okay, we'll move right to our delegations. Rowan House Society, Cam Burbank,
That's me, yeah.
come on out.
All right here?
We don't have a screen for you, so we're gonna have to.
Yeah, that's what I hear. So what I'll do is I'll just say click, and then you guys can just click on the slide on your own thing,
That'll
right?
work.
Nice.
Sounds good.
Trying to be innovative and creative, work with what you got. So my name's Cam Burbank. I represent Rowan House. Thanks for allowing me the opportunity to be here. I'm excited to share a little bit about what Rowan House is doing and a new project that we have in the works called Safe at Home. Click.
Nice.
So briefly, our mission is to provide crisis intervention and long-term support and education for those affected by violence. Click. Vision. Real simple, our vision is that every person is safe, secure, and lives without abuse. So essentially our focus is on building violence-free communities. Core values. So I'm just going to give a little bit of outline on Rowan House, and then I'm going to dig right into the project in case you're wondering where the project is. So part of how we operate at Rowan House is we deliver all our services through a trauma-informed lens. So basically what that means, we have an emphasis on safety, on trust, collaboration, choice, and empowerment. So the focus on safety and well-being, usually which is the women and children, is we do not want to re-traumatize. Rowan House uses this approach, and we take this into all aspects of our service delivery. So the emphasis is not on, the emphasis is on what happened, not what's wrong with that person or that individual. So when it comes to domestic violence, we also understand that every situation is different and unique, and we work hard to balance that within the trauma-informed lens. A little bit about the history of Rowan House. So the magic started in the basement suite in Black Diamond back in 2000. It consisted of 3 rooms in the basement that would house up to 6 women. From there, things continued to grow. Our current site right now is in High River and is a 7-bedroom home that has 24 beds. Our service area, in terms of who we service, as far south to Claresholm, east to Vulcan, west to Bragg Creek, and north to Calgary city limits. We sometimes service within Calgary as well too, and we're really good at collaborating with other shelters depending on the needs at any given time. So Rowan House has a number of different programs. I'm just going to go through them real briefly, but before I do, the stats for 2018-2019. So we serviced 225 women and children were admitted into our home, and we provided programming in addition to a safe place to live. So one of the key aspects that we're an emergency shelter. So emergency shelter, short-term acute shelter for women and children who experience domestic violence and abuse. So short-term, what that means, 30 days, with the option to extend that on an as-per-needed basis. So that's the first piece, the emergency shelter. The second one is we do some child programming as well too on site. So any of the women who are shelter residents, we want to help and support them care for their children. So we're not a licensed daycare, but what we do is we provide additional services to the needs of the women. So sometimes they'll have to go to court, they'll have to do certain things. So we'll assist them with that process. We have kind of a game room, a sensory room, just things to kind of keep the children engaged while they're going through this crisis time. So that's another piece. outreach. This is where we actually go out into the communities. So these are for individuals who do not feel they need to flee their situation, but they need additional supports. So those are typically referred through Alberta Works. It could be one-on-one crisis support. It could be court support. Maybe it's just educational awareness, and any support for people transitioning in and out of the shelter. That's what the outreach is. Another piece which seems to be growing fairly rapidly is the preventative education. 4 parts to that. So the first part is a youth education awareness program. So what we do is we have a couple ladies that actually go out to the school, so elementary, junior high, and high schools, and they present things on bullying, kindness, healthy relationships, right? That's one piece. The second piece is women's groups. So this is a 6-week program where people can, women can go and get some guidance and direction on what's a healthy relationship, how to build positive self-esteem. So that's the second piece. Third one is what we call leading change. So this is kind of where this whole safe at home kind of comes in, and we'll talk about that in a bit. But this is about engaging men and boys in the domestic violence situation. It's a holistic approach. So we just had an event called Breakfast with the Guys at Darcy Ranch. The gentleman who spoke at that was Mike Cameron. I don't know whether you know about him or not. He's from Edmonton. Interesting story. He was in a relationship with a woman, and her ex-partner came back and killed her. And so he goes around and he speaks about the impact that has on his life, and how we can do a better job of engaging men and boys. And sometimes we think it doesn't affect us, but it does affect us. So great little event that we just went to, had an incredible turnout. And this is the second one we've done. So last year we had one of the Calgary Stampeders came and talked. I can't remember who it was, but his experience was a little bit different. He kind of went through the foster care system, and he kind of talked from his perspective. So, and then the community programming. So we do some healthy relationship courses, domestic violence awareness. So that's kind of the preventative education piece that we offer. And then we also do a transitional housing. So we have some scattered sites. So these are row and house rents and subsidize them, and then subleases them to the individual. We're trying to look at creative ways to meet the needs and demands. We turn away a lot of people, unfortunately, and so we're just trying to say, what else can we be doing? These are some of the things that we're doing. We also have done community host programs. So this is kind of like similar to kind of, your kid that plays sports maybe and lives in the home with an individual. It's a pilot project, and it was based on some immigration needs of people who immigrate into the area, how to kind of get them into the community. We currently have 4 homes, but we're having some challenges with that. Probably not going to continue that, but that's something that we've done, and we're looking at how else can we do things. And then we have a second stage housing project that we're looking at. So second stage would be after the 30 days. So we did a bit of a study before this, I guess it was last year, and we're looking at, is this something that we want to do? So this is more of a transition, kind of a safe community where the women and children can be before they actually go out on their own. So it's called second stage. So we're looking at that. Not sure if that's going to move forward, but we're always looking at ways to address the issue. So what I'm here for mostly is the Safe at Home. So the Safe at Home is a 4-year. So first of all, let me back it up here a little bit. So we were the recipient of a grant, a federal grant from the Status of Women in Canada and Gender Equality. So we applied to this process, went through, and we were one of, this is a project that's going across Canada, but Rowan House has been the recipient of this. And so we're moving forward with this. And it's part of a larger federal initiative in Canada that focuses on ending gender-based violence. So currently we're in the first year, so I joined Rowan House in August, just coming on board, where we received the initial round of funding. And the emphasis where we are right now in the first phase is engaging stakeholders and helping to push the project forward. So we're still early, but things are moving along very quick. So the purpose of the project, what it is, so it's a twofold purpose. The first piece is creating safety and awareness. So traditionally in domestic violence situations, women often have to flee the home for their safety and for the safety of their children. So Safe and Home will be similar to other programs in that safety comes first. That doesn't change. It's always the first priority, especially in individuals who experience trauma. But the emphasis of Safe at Home will be that the women and children won't have to flee, and they can actually stay safe and be away from the abuser. So this serves a couple purposes. By not fleeing the home, the women and children aren't uprooted. Within most communities, there's a lot of supports that are in place, and so you uproot that from somebody who's dealing with trauma, it can really throw a wrench into things. So really the focus is creating some stability. So whether it's from schools, religious groups, friends, family, whatever it is, by keeping them in the home, it enhances stability. So that's one of the first purpose. The second one is addressing the behavioral aspects of the abuser. And it's unfortunate, it's one of the often overlooked second part and pieces to the full cycle of abuse. So what this means is that most domestic violence programs often ignore this one key aspect. And what happens is it perpetuates the abuse. The actions of the abuser, what happens is they leave the relationship and they go to repeat it somewhere else. And then this just continues. And, well, what about this guy? Well, sometimes they're charged, sometimes they're not. But how do they get the support? So by looking at this from a holistic perspective, we're considering both sides of the issue. And we realize that there's other aspects that we need to consider if we really want to address this. This has been a bit of subtle, but a huge shift in the industry, where typically the perpetrators have just kind of been left, and why is this happening? Why are they doing this? It's kind of been left, but this is a huge focus that has happened since before I came, but probably in the last 3 or 4 years is what we're seeing. So, how is the program different? We're different in that we offer a housing component. So as mentioned earlier, the abuser typically doesn't have access to support, but our program will provide not only ongoing supports in the form of psychoeducational awareness, counseling, individual and group counseling, but we'll also have a place for individuals to go to get the supports that they need. So we're still in the process of trying to determine exactly what that looks like. As this is a new space, and we're trying to say what has been done in the past, how are we going to move forward? But we have some good indicators. We're using this this whole kind of shift and change has been a result of a recent study that's been done in Australia, where Australia is one of 3 countries that has created a health policy focusing on men's mental health. And I think it's Australia, Brazil, and I think it's Ireland or Scotland. I can't remember which one. So we're following a program similar to what's been done in Australia. So Australia has about 17 different versions of this program, and they've found that it's been hugely successful in being able to address the whole cycle of violence. So we're basing it off of that model. So our job here is to take what they've done, how do we adapt it to our market, and then to create a bit of a blueprint in terms of how we want to do and what works, and maybe some changes that need to happen. So why Clarisome? Good question. So we looked at various sites in the foothills and surrounding area to determine possible locations for a site. So this will actually be a physical house, right? So being that one of the reasons, one of the focuses on our program is focusing on the rural aspects, because there's not as many resources that you would typically find in the city. So we want to address the rural needs of the community, and it's important that we're located in the outskirts. So in the early stages prior to receiving our funding, we did some initial, had some initial conversations with other communities, Okotoks, High River, Nanton. And Clarisome was one that showed one of the most promising interests in terms of what we were doing. And from what I'm learning, it seems to be a bit of a pocket here for maybe not having a lot of resources. And so it made sense for us to look at this as a viable place for this facility. In addition to that, our research said that we want to get the best bang for our buck. So we want to get, a good site, lots of room, cheap rent, which what that means is more money for programming. And so, so that's kind of why we have chosen this and why we're looking to partner with Clarisome and as we move forward with our project. So that's so some of the partners. The last page is just some of the partners that are here on board with us, and we are just in the stages of starting some initial meetings, and the project is slated to have the facility to have it up and running by summer of 2020 is where we're at. So I'm excited about the shift and what we have, and we think we have a real neat opportunity here to really take a bite out of an social issue that's been around for a long time. So with that, that's kind of the end of my presentation. I don't know, do you guys have any questions about what I shared with you here today, or?
I'm curious of what is it that you'd like for, in terms of support from council, and I don't really understand, is the intention to have a whole house, a house with services in it, so remove the abuser from the home, give him a place to be, and
Yeah.
all of it sounds really perfect, but
Yeah.
with the intention of purchasing a home here in Claresholm?
Yeah, I think we either purchase or lease or something. We're still trying to figure out the semantics of how we want to do that and how big the facility is. Like, so we're trying to. That's some legit, but yeah, definitely, it would be a place for the typically man to stay. Right? Is what it would
For
be.
sure, of
Right.
course,
So.
yeah. And you would potentially have multiple men staying there, so there'd be counselors and all of that stuff?
Yeah, so it'd be,
Available.
we have some experience in terms of how to run a facility with being an emergency shelter, and so we would staff that, we would house that,
So
and then
just
we would
like
have
one
some,
for women, but one for men in helping their rehabilitation.
right,
Brilliant.
yeah.
Would these be court-ordered clients, or they just volunteer?
Yeah, so that's a good question. I think part of it would be a court-ordered piece, and part of it, we hope that it would be, maybe there's situations where couples are just not, getting their stuff together, and they need to cool off, and they need some time, and maybe they just realize this isn't working, but they don't know what to do. So I think it's going to be a combination of mandated clients and those who do it of their own free will. But I'm not 100% certain what the breakdown is going to be.
Yeah.
But we have had some preliminary conversations with the Court of Queen bench in Lethbridge, and we've inquired, say, hey, is this something that do you have people that you think that you could, if they were sentenced, that they would be mandated? She said, and we talked to Erin Olson, who's the chief Crown prosecutor. She says, oh yeah, we could fill it pretty quick.
I bet.
So the idea would be have that housing piece, but then there would also maybe be some, maybe we have some evening classes where people who are maybe voluntarily saying, hey, I need to come.
Yeah.
I don't like this about myself. I want to change this, and just kind of start to open the opportunities for men to get help. There's not a lot of places for them to get it, either voluntarily or not. So it's really about creating the space.
So you must be, for a woman to qualify to stay at home, it must be pretty selective, because if it's too violent a situation, how would she still be safe? The man could leave here and...
Yeah, well, so on situations where there's a high incidence of risk for repeat offense, that's a whole nother piece. So the RCMP gets involved in that. From what I understand in the process, there's some things that can be done to stop that if the women and children want to stay in the home. So one of the things that the Safe at Home program in Australia does, and it's kind of a catch-all name, sometimes they'll put upgraded security systems in the home, right? So that is something maybe that we look at. Or what they're currently doing right now is they have and I'm not sure what the name of it is, but it's a technology where they can actually monitor the abuser and the abused, and it goes to somebody who, kind of like a GPS service,
If they
right?
get too
When they make
close.
sure if they get too close, alarm goes off, and all of a sudden, okay, something's wrong. Somebody needs to do.
So like wearing a bracelet that's got a tracker on it.
Something like that, right? So that is being used currently right now. I can't remember the name of the technology, but this is something that I've kind of discovered as part of my preliminary research and reaching out to the community. So there are those things built in place, and then you have some situations where they're not going to want to stay. So the question is, we want to give them a choice, and what does that look like? How do we help them? Not everyone's going to want to stay, so how can we do that? So it's not a catch-all that works for everyone.
Right.
It's to kind of create a bit of a working model and then kind of adapt that. And then part of that is determining well, what are we gonna do and what are we not gonna do?
Mm.
And those are some things that we're still in the process of trying to figure out. Yeah, it's a good
So-
question.
I mean, the other concern is local resources that are already here. Is there an expectation of a strain on them bringing 6 people, whether they're doctors or, you know, because we are short on different areas. Has that been looked into?
Well, I don't know if we've done any actual research on that. I mean, I was at the interagency meeting, and we had somebody from, who was that was there from the town? That
Three,
huh?
probably EDO.
Yeah, and so I've heard some of the challenges that you guys have in terms of finding staff and employees for.
Well, it's just medical staff, and like it's just wondering if that's been looked at.
Yeah, I don't know whether there's so much medical staff, right? I mean, I think the only would be maybe some counselors or to do some of the programming, but I'm not 100% certain what that looks like, or how much staff that we would need to contain that. But it really depends on the site,
Right.
how many beds that we're going to
So
have.
what would you be wanting from us, from the town of Claresholm?
Yeah, I think awareness of what we're trying to do, and just how to. I don't know whether there's. I'm still trying to figure that out, to be honest with you, right? Yeah. Like I just think it's really an awareness of what we're trying to do, and
Cool.
help us
Appreciate
to maybe. I mean, I'm not familiar with some of the challenges, like you said, that how do we staff that? These are new things that I'm not aware of because I'm not from Claresholm. I live in
But
Okotoks.
typically, when you open a Rowan House, let's say you were gonna open one
Yeah.
for girls, would Rowan House be responsible for filling it with the staff? Or do you?
Yeah, so Rowan House is the keeper of the money, but we're not necessarily running the program. The idea is to engage, other agencies and figure out what their roles is and how we're
Yeah.
going to work together.
So I think that would be a really significant piece in relation to our community, because we're already
Yeah,
stretched thin in that
Right.
department. Not saying that's not a possibility, but I think
Yeah.
have to look at how would that be serviced.
right. Yeah,
Hmm.
so I don't have all the, but we're trying to figure the
I
pieces out as we
love
go
the concept
forward,
of it. I
right?
think it's a brilliant step
Yeah,
in the
Rowan
right
House does
direction.
great
Holy
work.
smokes.
Yeah.
It's just
So.
Yeah, I think
Okay.
it's great.
So I'll leave some cards, and you guys have the presentations as well too. And yeah,
Okay.
thank you for your time.
Yeah, thank you.
Okay, well, thank
I
you.
appreciate that very much.
One, it's not as serious a question. On your the little butterfly symbol, who is that? Be on your last, on Safe at Home Partners.
Oh, is that the Domestic Violence Collective? Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Is that what that is?
Yeah.
Okay.
That's what I'm
Yeah, there's nothing
Yeah.
on that.
So that's what that is.
Yep.
The Domestic Violence Collective. So, which.
It's good to know.
Okay.
Cool.
All right.
Right.
Will I just leave these? Sure. Okay.
Thank
All right. Thank you.
All right, thank you
Thank
very
you.
much.
Thank you very much.
appreciate it.
Yeah, appreciate your time.
There's gonna be some sort of domestic professionals or something in there.
Okay, we'll move on. Action items. Number 1, bylaw 1687, the road closure bylaw, first reading. This is, talked about the last meeting. It's that, basically drainage right away between the properties over on 6th, I believe it was.
Right.
Yeah, 6th Street. Any questions on this, or can we get a motion?
I'll make a motion.
Councillor Cutler? Question?
Moved by Councillor Cutler to give bylaw number 1687, a road closure bylaw, first reading.
All in favor? Carried. Number 2, the Honorable Nate Glubis, Minister of Service Alberta, broadband internet. Anything on this you guys want to talk about? Where are we?
Alberta Southwest is looking at partnering, preliminarily talking to Lethbridge College about South Grove, Alberta Southwest, and the college working on broadband. But it's just starting, so. Also, TELUS has committed $16 billion to broadband in Alberta alone.
Upgrade the internet. No,
Tell
Alberta.
us, 16 billion.
Where were we at?
It's a buck.
The economic development started the Shaw upgrades 2 years ago. Did that all get completed?
Yeah.
That's all done?
There's a few that have Axia in town, but most didn't want it. So Axia just pulled out.
Well, it actually isn't owned by Axia anymore.
No.
Bell bought it. So it's, is it still called Axia or is it called
No.
Bell now?
But no, somebody else has bought it now.
Oh, it's changed hands again.
Yeah.
Well, it's definitely something we gotta be
Right.
aware of because business depends on high-speed internet. And I know Shaw did upgrades, but they've fallen short. They didn't complete the project. And I know there's a lot of discontented residents, let alone businesses in town that they never reached, like,
Yeah. Jeff had spent substantial money to upgrade his system.
did they ever get that far down?
No.
No, they never got, and they never got up to Alberta Road.
Axia did.
Axia did it,
Davis has Axia.
but did they get in further? Because the other businesses were all looking for high speed,
No.
and it was promised from
Axia,
Shaw.
Axia went to them all and they all said, we don't want it.
That was
Well,
actually,
but they all had agreements with Shaw. I'd been talking to most of them. So Shaw didn't do anything there.
But I don't see any advantage.
Well, either way,
Comparing systems, I don't see any advantage.
well, either one is good, isn't it?
No.
You think one's better than the other?
Axia, Davis is no better than my home
Well.
computer.
Oh, really?
No.
Wow.
Mm-mm.
It's definitely it's a problem for businesses more than residential.
Yes. I see TELUS stepping up big time. And they're gonna take over the whole thing.
Well, they're talking, but I don't. TELUS has talked before. I don't have a lot of faith in them either. So they
I
put
do.
that money can be all of a sudden go roaring into the cities and help us not a
Nope.
bit.
No, they've committed to rural southern Alberta.
Well, I guess we'll have to wait and see. Not much we can do.
Yeah.
Can we?
So is this,
We're in contact with Shaw. Can we follow up with them and see if they're planning on doing any more? Can we have direct administration, please, to get a hold of Shaw? We had a meeting with them 1.5 years ago, and they had all kinds of promises to get every business in town on high-speed internet. And I haven't seen any of that.
Okay.
So talk to them and have a report for next council.
Yep.
Okay. We'll take the rest for information. And maybe there's somebody you tell us we should be getting hold of too to ask. Is there,
Yeah,
should we also,
I got a contact name.
could you give it,
I'll give it to administration.
administration check with both and see what's happening? Cause we gotta do something we're promoting business in town. This has gotta be hand in hand. We gotta have the high-speed internet also.
Okay.
Okay, number 3, correspondence. Jeremy Nixon, MLA Calgary Klein. Alberta Tobacco Smoking Reduction Act. Now this is they're reviewing the Tobacco Act and they're looking for input. Anybody got anything to say about this?
No, sir?
No?
Nope.
You got something?
I can just say,
I've got
you know, so
something,
they're
but-
they're looking for feedback both from municipalities as well as from the general public.
Yeah.
There is a in the agenda package. There is a website you can go to there for the general public for a public survey, as well as an email to send municipal feedback to. If you read through the slides and stuff, the background information. It appears that one of the biggest concerns they have is the increase in vaping and the concerns there, especially with youth vaping.
Yeah.
well, went and took all the flavored stuff away, all the nicotine flavored stuff, and then they came out with flavored vaping. So the kids just stopped buying
Yeah,
cigarettes.
that
and
is
started
moved
buying.
over, and it's easier to get.
Exactly. Yeah,
You can go into any store now and pick it up.
it was not. Yeah, it wasn't
It's
done.
an increase of, what is it
Huge.
here? 14% increase from one study to the next.
Oh.
Well, there's also some really good ideas in here, like just outlets for vaping and tobacco, to have them certified and educated, like they've done in other provinces, on how to sell them. Increase the tax on them both. Vaping should have the same tax on it as tobacco. I mean, we could make, if you guys wanted to make any recommendations, we could go along that line. If not, we can just take it for information. It's up to you guys.
I'll go online and fill out a survey.
Just take it for information. Okay, we'll move on. Number 4, correspondence Associated Engineering, invitation to an open house. And this is December 5th. Anybody here?
No thanks.
No.
Nobody went last year either.
Yeah, thank you.
I think Marion went last year, that was it.
I believe so, yeah.
Okay, take that for information. Next one, number 5, correspondence Brownlee, emerging trends in municipal law. We've done this before. Some years it's really beneficial. Last year I found it kind of flat and not very informative. What's your feelings on it?
I'm enough.
I didn't mind it last year, but I'm relatively new in it all, so.
I think I might find it interesting. I have never gone to one.
Probably would.
Well, I think
Just for,
we'll get administration to register whoever's interested. If you could let Blair know tomorrow by
I can let them know by
the end of the week.
Yep.
When is it at February? So, yeah,
February
February
6th,
yeah, it's
Calgary.
always away.
by the end of the week.
It's a ways away.
Yeah, but get a spot in there.
Yeah.
So if you're
Yeah.
interested in going, let administration know by the end of the week.
Okay.
Number 6, correspondence, Community Energy Association Electric Charging Station. Oh, this is the grand opening. Here it is. It's at 1 o'clock, I believe.
There wasn't a time.
There wasn't a time.
There
Well,
wasn't
there
a
was,
time.
No,
there was
there
an
was
email that sent out.
I got an email.
Yeah.
Earlier today.
Yeah, it was well 1:30.
And I was gonna be available to do it, but it's looking like I might not be able to make that. I might be out of town.
Keith and I might be able to walk across our
Keith
parking
can-
lots and
I
get
can-
there.
I was gonna come. I'm off on Friday, so I was gonna show up if you wanted to. So
Well,
you can
if,
make it.
if you two can make it, Craig is the deputy, so
Nope, Keith
No,
is.
he's not.
Keith is, okay, so we'll make sure, Keith, if you could make sure you could do that.
Yeah, I'll be
Cause,
there.
things might change, I'll know by noon tomorrow
I'll even take my chef whites off for
for
20
a
minutes
photo op.
too.
Okay, well, if you two could cover for that.
I
Very
promise
nice,
to
yeah.
put some-
Just provide a little bit of information for those that might be listening. So this is part of the Peaks to Prairies program done through I guess there's quite a few different organizations that have been part of this, including the South Grow, I believe it's the City of Calgary, the Medicine Hat, there's a few colleges, Medicine Hat College, City of Lethbridge. So this is basically looking at making sure that there are charging stations throughout southern Alberta, basically to get you from Medicine Hat all the way through to Banff, I believe. And so there is a station, a charging station here in Claresholm that has been installed and is now energized. And this is basically a grand opening for that, and it's just there behind, or just to the north of Royce.
Okay,
Thank you, sir.
so if anybody has time, stop in at 1 o'clock for the ribbon cutting. It'll just be a 5-minute ceremony. Okay, the next one is correspondence. community and district citizens on patrol, a request for donations. They're requesting $2,500. What did we give them last year?
$2,500
Same
also.
amount.
Same amount.
And it's too bad they hadn't. I should have requested they come and just talk to us. Would you guys like to have them
They
come
were
talk
here
to us?
last
She
year.
was here. Yeah,
They
she
were
gave
here
us a
last
great-
year.
And that's why we agreed to give them the money. I read the report, I thought it was
I've
really
read the
good. She
report.
gave
I
lots
think
of
she's, you know,
detail.
at least it's somebody out when there's nobody else in areas. And I have no issue with this.
And I think what I've noticed is it's generated more interest in the community to be more attentive to the community.
Yeah, that's a good point.
And
Well-
when people don't have to pay for it out of their own pocket, I think it gives it more incentive to them to take the drives through the night.
Well, somebody would like to make a motion. Councilor Schlossberger? Question?
Moved by Councilor Schlossberger to support the Clarisoma District Citizens on Patrol, the donation of $2,500 towards gas cards.
All in favor? Opposed? Carried. Number 8, correspondence, Clarisoma District Health Foundation. This is the gala, a request for donation. You can see the sponsorship there. What did we do last year?
500.
We've done the same 500 for most years in the last, I don't know, what, decade?
It's actually in there, it's right there.
Yeah, except for 2013.
Oh, here it is, yeah.
Yeah, except for 2013, which we gave $800.
Feeling generous in 2013.
It
I
was
think it was just a bigger, event.
big
Oh, is
raise.
that what it
They had
was?
a bigger act or something that year, was it like,
Costs were up a
Patricia
bit.
Conroy or somebody like that? And so council contributed more.
I'll make that motion.
Councilor Schultz? Question?
Moved by Councilor Schultz to support the Clarisoma District Health Foundation's 13th Annual Gala to be held November 23rd, 2019, in the amount of $500.
All in favor? Carried. Along with that gala, was there not a request about council participation? Marion was talking about, or was that the one? No, that's
That
the
I
one,
received.
that's the next health foundation, isn't it? Where the administration and staff use it for Christmas?
Oh, no, that's a different thing.
That's a different one?
That's the Art Society.
That's the Art Society, I'm mixing them up. I knew there was something else coming up, so. Okay, we'll move on. Number 9. Correspondence, Foothills Ford paving of Saskatchewan Crescent. Claire?
So this was a letter received from Foothills Ford regarding the north industrial area. There's Saskatchewan Crescent and those roads around there have remained unpaved despite that being promised to them many years ago when they purchased. And they've been told, according to the letter here, that it's in our 5-year plan for more than the past 5 years, and it still hasn't been done. And just some concern there about damage and whatnot to their vehicles that it occurs during some of the wind storms with the gravel there on the roads. And so they're requesting that we include the paving of that area, the North Industrial area, here in the 2020 budget.
And then to follow that, there's a letter, the next letter right after it is from Skyline Towing and Alberta Automa Glass Accessories, along the same line about the promises for paving when the lots were purchased. And
Yeah, and their request, I believe, is just for a portion of that area, not the whole thing.
yeah, well, they've listed every business that is in there,
Yes.
so they've asked for it all to be sealed in some way or another, but they contacted me on it. Basically, I think both the letters, we should turn them back over to FIPSI committee and we'll discuss it some more there. This isn't the place to make a decision on this,
No.
No.
so I think we'll just refer that to budget, and we'll discuss it some more at the next FIPSI meeting. Number 11, request for decision, airport runway rehabilitation. Larry?
So there is as part of the Strategic Transportation Infrastructure Program, or STIP grant, the STIP grant has 4 different, what's the word I'm looking for, funding streams. One of which is the CAP, or Community Airport Program. So this basically is a grant program that helps in the rehabilitation of community airports. So our airport here in Claresholm, it's been many years since it's been repaved, and it's to the point of in significant disrepair. We had a assessment done on the pavement back in, I believe it was 2010, and they said it needed to be repaved then. It's now 9 years later. So this was, as I understand, it was brought forward to us basically from the MD at our last JEDI meeting.
At the last meeting I had with the MD, this was brought up, yeah.
So basically the the CAP grant will fund up to 75% of the project, with 25% being the municipality's cost. And the MD is prepared to contribute to the municipal portion of that funding. There was no clear direction or explicit direction from them as to whether that would be 50-50 between the two of us or not. We have it in here right now as 50-50 for the municipal portion. The latest estimate we received, or quote we received for the pavement rehabilitation, was $626,120. So that would be $469,590 funded by the grant, if received. Then town contribution of $78,265 and MD contribution of $78,265. Now this grant is a competitive grant. They do ask as part of the grant application for a lot of different information, business plan for it, a lot of different studies, master plans, whatnot, a lot of which we don't have. We did contact the grant office and talk to them, and they said, don't go spending any money on this application. We still do encourage you to put in an application. They don't know yet what their funding is going to be for the 2020 grant round. Sometimes they have very few applications. They kind of expect this year to be more because it's been advertised a little more than it has been in the past. Yeah, they said basically take what information you do have, put it together, and go ahead and put in an application.
Okay. Well, after meeting with, you didn't make that meeting, did you?
No, I was there for that
You were
meeting, yeah.
After meeting with the MD, I can see the justification needing something done if we're going to keep the airport open. Question to the town is, the viability of keeping the airport open. So this grant does give us that chance, but my thoughts on it were the town, if we apply for this grant, we put in a maximum of $50,000 period, and then we change the part for the MD to pick up the balance. Because the balance we could end up with a $400,000 grant, and the balance could be quite excessive. For the town of Claresholm to put too much money into that airport, it's going to be directly beneficial to the MD's new business park out there. So I don't see using our town's ratepayers' money to be too involved out there. I think we should have some restrictions on it. What do you guys think?
Well, as much as I like the idea of how that grant is proposed, and the 75% funding, when we've got 2 letters previous to this item come through, that I think are
Priority.
much more needed right now for our business community than the airport. I wouldn't be in favor of supporting it at this time without doing something
In town first.
in town first,
Can we send this to FIPSI?
I think.
No, it's, the grant application
The
is time.
grant deadline is the
sensitive.
end of November, I believe, and we still need time to request a letter of support from the MD with their financial.
They are
contributions
taking
as
it to
well.
council at the same time as us, so
So
they
this
will
is
get-
really just saying yes, that we would
No, we
support
need a
them
letter.
applying for the application?
It would be us applying because
We
are
have
the
to
ones
apply
who
because
visit
we own
airport.
the airport. But, and Keith is taking it a little further than me even, I don't agree. I agree with fixing the airport, that's fine, but I don't agree with taking our
Taxpayer.
tax dollars and putting it out there.
But if we apply
this
for the
time.
grant, we're
We're,
committing.
yeah, we have to find those funds.
Yeah.
So we need a commitment letter from the MD saying they'll cover whatever the shortcomings that we're not willing to. Like even if we were to put in something like $25,000 and let them pick up the balance, the benefit is to them.
Yeah.
The businesses out there, they think that are gonna come and use that airport. It's they're gonna collect taxes on that. The town will get some spin-off jobs possibly, but we're talking about our tax dollars here. And our residents' tax dollars should be spent in town.
So what would the town contribution be then? If we can't go to FIP, if they need it before then?
Mhm.
Well, we don't need it, we can approve that, Craig, without it going to FIPSI. We are, because council has that authority.
Right. But it'd be
So
nice
what are
to
you
see what.
suggesting, an amount? Is that what you're-
Well, yeah, because I mean
I'd like to see it delayed a year.
that's a lot of money, right? To just
Yeah.
It's a yearly grant, right?
It has been in the past.
It has been in
I
the
don't know
past,
if
but
there's
they're not
any
sure it's gonna
guarantee
carry
that-
on.
No. We're not sure anything's gonna carry on.
Yeah.
I think we've got more priorities right now, as much as the airport could use that, I think my personal opinion is that of the 5-year plan, I don't see the airport's repaving on it.
Well then, here's another thought. Could we agree to put a letter of support in on the agreement that the MD pays everything?
Sure.
Because at least we're giving them the opportunity.
And by everything, you mean the 25% matching.
Well, 25 or whatever the shortcomings are.
Yeah. Okay.
Because,
It gives
and
them an opportunity.
I don't want, I'm not gonna disagree with these guys. I don't think in our situation right now, like Councillor Carlson mentioned, with paving that we're leaving undone, that we should be throwing more taxpayer money out there.
Yeah.
I mean, I thought about reducing the amount, but maybe we just say we do not have any money, any funds available for the matching part. We will agree to it.
Yep.
But the money has to come from the MD.
It's to their benefit. We'll write the grant, but anything left over,
I mean, and the other thing, if the airport gets it, like the runways are getting like 2-foot deep cracks in them. It is getting. Maybe it's another thing is to take a look at the airport, the viability of it. Because especially if it's gonna start costing us a lot of money, we don't have the money
Yeah.
to be putting it into the airport.
Do we know when the last time it was paved?
Probably when it was built.
When it was built?
probably.
60, 70 years?
So
Do we
let's-
talk about do we talk about giving it over to the MD?
Well, that's a future,
fully?
that's a future conversation. This has gotta be done now,
Yes.
if we wanna
Yes.
get in on this.
I'm
And we can just leave it and say, no, we're not gonna support it this time. That is fine.
I'm fine with giving
not-
them a letter of support for them to go it, but as far as monetary value goes,
Well, we have to write the grant, but we can write
We can write the grant and say, you gotta match it.
and tell them they have to they have
They
to
have to
make
do
up
it.
the difference. I'm good with that.
It's either
If they
that
don't
or-
want to match it, then yes, they
It's
don't.
either that or we say we can't. We just can't.
Yeah, yeah.
And I agree, we can't, it's just money we don't have right now.
No.
I'd rather look at the paving on Saskatchewan Crescent before I pave the runway. What's the administration's
clear?
feeling on that?
I'm fine with that. I think that to help maintain good relationships with the MD, I think that we should at least offer to write the grant.
Yeah.
But yeah, if council doesn't want to put any funds toward that, I support that.
Perfect.
So we can still write the grant and not put any money towards it other than the cost of writing the grant itself.
Well, the cost is just our time.
Our motion is going to be that we will apply for the grant, but the MD must
No
do
money.
do the 25%. Can you reword that?
It's two motions,
There's two.
two motions.
Do you have to do it in two that way?
It is too.
I guess we
Um,
still have to.
I think it makes more sense.
Yeah, it makes more sense to do it that
Okay,
way because it's.
We'll go with the way it's in there. So Councillor Schlossberger has gone with the first one to support the application for the pavement. Question? Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to
Yeah, I
apply
know,
for the.
to submit an application to the Community Airport Program for pavement rehabilitation of the active runway at the Clearsum Industrial Airport.
Yeah. Isn't that, yeah, you're right, there's no need to change that.
We're just changing it to submit an
Just-
application instead of to apply for.
Yeah, because we don't want
It
to
doesn't
apply
really
for it.
read.
But that's fine.
We have to apply for it. We're the only ones allowed
Submit
to.
an application.
I didn't read it when I put it, I just copied and pasted it. Just read it now.
Do you want it read again?
Yep, please.
Moved by Councillor Schlossberger to submit an application to the Community Airport Program for pavement rehabilitation of the active runway at the Clearsum Industrial Airport.
All in favor? Carried. Okay. And we need a second motion to say that the MD must come up with the 25%. Who's willing to make that? Councillor Cutler.
Well, we need them to make more than 25%. Oh, yes,
No, that-
never mind. Yep, got it.
However you feel that should be worded.
Well, I have it worded, we just changed the amount.
'Kay.
It's the same, motion.
So we can just change that amount and just, because I want to make we'll talk to the MD, very clear that we're not putting money into this, so. Okay, then, if, questions?
This is working out.
Oh, she's
Plus
changing
any
it again.
overruns,
No,
any
it's gotta change that
overages,
70
oh,
to
yes.
65 to times 2.
Plus any overage.
So moved by Councillor Cutler to request a letter of support and funding from the MD of Willow Creek number 26 for the pavement rehabilitation of the active runway at the Clearsum Industrial Airport in the amount of $156,530 plus any overages.
That sound good?
Mhm.
Sounds like what I said.
All in favor? Carried. Number 12, request for decision, policy manual review updates.
All right, so there's a number of policies here. So this first one, 5.2.05, is the community advertising program. This is a fairly recent policy. We're not, the only change we're recommending here was to remove the background section of the policy. Basically just kind of states what would normally be in an RFD. We don't normally have backgrounders within the body of a policy. So we're just removing that from the policy. Otherwise, it's the same policy as previously, just renumbering and putting it into the new format. 5.2.45, a volunteer appreciation event. This used to be called the Volunteer Appreciation Dinner. So just updating this, the name of the policy as well as the policy itself, just to state it would be a volunteer appreciation event, as a dinner isn't always had. Just leaves it a little bit more flexible as to what the event is and no requirement for a dinner. Also, a little more clarity on what the town's sponsorship of that event could be. The next one, 5.2.50, Miss Teen Claresholm pageant. We haven't had a Miss Teen Claresholm pageant in Claresholm for some time. and so recommending this policy be rescinded. So these were brought forward to the Admin Services Committee. The Admin Services Committee does recommend council pass a resolution to adopt the policies 5.2.05 Community Advertising Program Policy and 5.2.45 Volunteer Appreciation Dinner, as well as recommends council repeal Policy 5.2.50 Miss Teen Claresholm Pageant.
I'll move to adopt 5.205.
And
And
5.2.45.
5.245.
Do they not have to be in separate?
Nope.
The other one, when we did that whole list, Marion made sure every one was separate.
Oh.
They're not
No,
allowed to
I think
be,
this is what we've been doing, we've been adopting them and then repealing them in separate motions, but I think this is the way
Yeah.
it's just been a list.
so I'd rather do it separate.
Okay.
Like we
Okay.
did last council meeting. We did 10 of them last council meeting. They were all separate. We didn't do groups.
That was the bylaws though.
Yeah,
Mhm.
but still,
Okay.
if you're sure it's okay, then,
Yeah, it's fine with
That's-
this.
okay. Councilor Schultz made a motion. Question?
Moved by Councillor Schultz to adopt the updated town policy number 5.2.05 Community Advertising Program Policy effective October 28, 2019.
All in
That doesn't
favor?
read right.
Saying.
Didn't
And-
finish it?
And to adopt the changes for 5.2.45,
Oh,
the
sorry, it should be
volunteer appreciation.
Oh, so it's not wrote, no, it's not wrote right.
policies.
Sorry, I didn't
I
read
did
it.
that. I did that part wrong. It should be.
So it would be moved by Councillor Schultz to adopt the updated, to adopt the following amended policies by resolution. Number 5.2.05, the Community Advertising Program Policy, and 5.2.45, the Volunteer Appreciation Dinners Policy.
Okay, we good in that? All in favor? Carried. And then we have the missed to
I'll make
repeal.
a,
I'd like to
Miss-
adamantly repeal
What are you repealing?
the Miss Teen Claresholm pageant policy.
There must have been
Oh,
some.
did you lose one?
just cause you lost.
You lost, didn't
Yeah,
you?
I
It was a tough year that year.
Question?
Moved by Councillor Carlson to repeal policy number 5.2.50, the Miss Teen Claresholm Pageant Policy, previously CEDC 12.95A.
All in favor? Carried. Oh. Policy. Request for decision, policy manual review updates, 5.2 community,
5.4 now.
We're on to
5.4.
utility services.
Yeah, I got the wrong one. Okay. You're up, Blair.
All right, so this is another section of policies for the utility services. So the first one here is 5.4.05, the garbage collection policy. This is a fairly old policy. Basically just states that the town employees or the garbage collectors can't take anything out of the garbage for their own personal use. Basically, we're recommending that the policy stay in place, just amending the policy to remove the disciplinary action portion of the policy. We already have a policy in place for disciplinary action, our progressive discipline policy, and we don't need that stated within this policy. The next four policies, 5.4.20, 21, 22, and 23, all have to do with water and sewer items that are already covered within the water and sewer utility bylaw. As the bylaw supersedes a policy, these policies are redundant and in some cases disagree with the current bylaw. We're recommending those four policies be rescinded. These did go to Admin Services Committee, and it is the recommendation of, or they did make a recommendation to Council to pass a resolution to adopt the amended policy 5.4.05, the garbage collection policy, as well as recommended to repeal the other four policies.
I'll make a motion to adopt the updated town policy of 5.4.05.
Question?
Moved by Counselor Zimmer to adopt the updated town policy number 5.4.05, the garbage collection policy, effective November 12th, 2019.
All in favor?
Really should have read this one.
Carried.
And catch them as we go through.
Next, any questions on the next?
Nope.
Yeah, one question. Sewer line maintenance. If the sewer line is plugged between your property line and where it falls into the main, it is up to the homeowner.
It is up to the town. Between the property line and the main,
Yeah.
that's the town's property.
You sure?
From the house to
It should only be from the curb stop to the house that is the homeowner's responsibility.
Responsible.
From the curb stop to the main is the town's responsibility.
Yeah, because I just from personal experience in this and numerous complaints I got over the last year, if it is outside your property line and the sewer is plugged, usually it's from back flushing, they'll sometimes plug them up. The town has taken no responsibility and paid nothing for that. So that's why I ask, are you sure that's the policy?
I'm not 100% positive. No, I'd have to double check with Mike and review the bylaw, but I'm pretty sure that's the way it's worded.
Well, that's interesting. I wish I'd wrote down the names of the people that came to me asking me about that.
I think it also depends on what the blockage is and if they can tell,
Well, how
where
can
the
you
issue.
tell? If it's if it's out in the street and there's a blockage and the rotor grinds it out and they testify that it's out in the street, that should be enough. If you're saying that the policy is that the town pays for it out there, then that should be enough. But I know that's not the way it's been in town. Not at all.
I know where one instance that you're talking about.
My own house, I didn't even try. I got a rotor to come down from Lethbridge, and he went out there and he found it was they had just finished pushing the sewers about 3 days before, and my sewer backed up into the basement. So I ground it, and it was found, what did they tell me it was? 16 feet past my property line into the street. I didn't even go to the town because I know the town policy, and you guys have never been paying on that. So
I'll have to double check.
I don't want to see this go through without you checking on that.
We're just repealing that policy. It has nothing to do
Because
with.
it's multiple.
It's already part of the bylaw. It's not the policy.
We're not going to be changing any. Well, I know you're not changing it, but still,
The bylaw
I think it's
supersedes
in
the policy.
question. The whole thing is in question because we don't honor that in town. We don't.
Okay. I can follow up with that.
Well, we'll just leave that for you to follow up, and we'll go ahead and make the amendment. We'll need a motion.
I'll make a motion to repeal those following policies then. 5, 4, 20, 21, 22, and 23.
Question?
Moved by Counselor Zimmer to repeal the following policies. 5.4.20, water service connection disconnection policy, previously UT 0183. 5.4.21, sewer line maintenance policy, previously UT 0889. 5.4.22, water and or sewer service installation policy, previously UT 1195. 5.4.23, water meter policy, previously UT 0207.
All in favor? Carried. Policy manual review updates 5.8 common equipment and town facilities.
All right. The next policies all relate to town equipment and town facilities. So the first one here is 5.8.01, the equipment rental policy. This is a recent policy passed in March of 2018. There's not much for changes here other than the change in formatting. There was a bit of repetition that was removed, as well as the title parameters was changed to guidelines just to be more consistent with the wording in the other policies. And there's no fee adjustment being recommended here, as from what we've seen in the few rentals we have had, it is sufficient to cover our costs, and we're not looking to make money on this. 5.8.05 is the employee use of municipal property policy is our recommended change, new title to the policy. It used to be called the personal use of municipal facilities, properties, and equipment policy, which was fairly lengthy, and municipal facilities and equipment are still property of the town. Because of the previous wording of the policy also, it was misnumbered to be a public policy versus an employee policy. It is specific to employees, so we're also recommending this policy be renumbered to 1.1.40, which is employee benefits. So this policy basically states that no municipal employee can use town property for their personal use without express permission from administration to do so, which is rare. Then 5.8.10, use of council chambers. This policy basically states that the council chambers can only be used by boards and groups where a member of town administration or a town councillor is a part of that group and in attendance. Biggest reason for that is just regarding security, because the council chambers here, there's no way of segregating council chambers from the rest of administrative offices. We don't want the public to have free reign of that, and so a member of town administration or council needs to be here to, I guess, be responsible for those that they're allowing into the building. Just a bit of change in wording in the policy to make it clear. Within the policy sounds like administration can't use the council chambers for things like staff meetings. It says basically it's only for groups and committees. And so we just added a little bit of wording in there so that administration can also use it for administrative purposes. And then just a further comment there that that we do plan to review this policy again once we're in the new facility, as hopefully within the new facility there will be the ability to segregate the office space from chambers. 5.8.20, town tables and chairs policy. No changes are being proposed for this policy except for the formatting, as well as some slight simplification to the wording of the intent of the policy. So this policy basically just states that town tables and chairs are to be used only, or can be used free of charge for nonprofits only, and that we do not rent out our tables and chairs.
Okay.
So these all did go to Admin Services Committee, and it is their recommendation that these amended policies be passed, as well as the renumbering of the 5.8.05 to 1.1.40.
So the 5.8.10, the use of council chambers policy, it says number 2, groups who do not have a council or town administrative representative shall be requested to find other accommodations for their meetings.
Correct.
But they will, like, there's no shall, like, and then no group or community organization shall use the chamber of commerce unless, so I just wonder, does 2 need to be in there? Like it says, groups who do not have, like it says it twice.
So it's just, so basically 1 is just stating who is allowed, and then 2 is giving administration basically direction as to how they should.
Okay. Well, it just says guidelines.
Yeah.
Okay.
Okay, I see what you're saying there in the guidelines that's then a repetition
Yeah, it just means the same thing as 2, but.
or more
Yeah.
than 1. But
Yeah.
yeah, you're
That's
right.
all.
The guidelines could be removed. Would you like us to remove that?
I just don't think it needs to be, I just think it says the same thing twice.
Yeah, it does, basically, yeah. I can remove guidelines. Also, it was noted after the agenda package was put together that 1.1.40 has a typo in it. The last sentence of the policy, or the, I guess, only sentence in the policy section says without prior written personal from management. That should be permission from management.
Permission.
Mm.
Okay, we all in agreement? Yeah.
I'll make that motion with the amendment. Removing guidelines.
Okay.
Question?
Somebody's making which motion?
The first, the main one with the amendment 5.15. Or sorry, 5.8.
One, and I just put it as amended in
Yep.
here. Moved by Councilor Cutler to adopt the following policies effective November 12th, 2019, as amended. 5.8.01 equipment rental policy, previously GA 0318A. 5.8.05 use of facilities, property, and equipment policy, previously GA 0910A. 5.8.10 use of council chambers policy, previously GA 0500. 5.8.20 town tables and chairs policy, previously GA 0113.
Did we need to mention the changes that were made?
That's what she said, as amended.
As amended is enough?
Thanks. Yeah.
All in favor? Carried. Next motion, to renumber 5.8.05 to 1.1.40. Councilor Schlossberger. Question?
Moved by Councilor Schlossberger to renumber policy number 5.8.05 to 1.140, 1.1.40, sorry, employee use of municipal property.
All in favor? Carried. Number 15, financial report, statement of operations, September 30th. Any questions?
They all add up.
Like you did that.
Wow.
Explorer. We don't need a motion to accept those, do we? No, I didn't think so. Information brief.
No.
Oh, sorry,
we
I'm
need-
wrong.
We do need a motion to accept the financial
Oh,
report.
yeah, okay, Councilor Carlson. It's the information that you don't need. Question?
Moved by Councilor Carlson to accept the consolidated statement of operations for the month ended September 30th, 2019, as presented.
All in favor? Carried. Information brief, council resolution status. Nothing jumps out at anybody? Craig?
No, everything looked great.
Good. Adoption of information items, any questions in there?
Nope.
I noticed in the regional waste management, there's only 2 people ever make motions in that meeting. Is it like a 3-man committee?
Which one's that?
Regional waste.
We're just the favorites.
They're the favorites. They seem to do all the motion.
Cool beans.
Make a motion to adopt the information items.
Councilor Zimmer, okay. Question?
Moved by Councilor Zimmer to adopt the information items as presented.
All in favor? Carried. And a motion to go in camera, please. Councilor Carlson. We are in camera. Can you turn the camera off, please? Thumb up.
Okay, motion to come out of in camera?
All in favor of coming out of the camera? Mr. Carlson, motion to adjourn. We are adjourned. Camera off, please.